Please welcome our guest and good friend of mine, Susan Rose.
Hello. I'm Susan. This is my other sister, Susan. It is great to be here. Let me tell you, it's an honor to be up here and to even be inducted. I had no idea that this was going to happen to me in my lifetime, and I'm very grateful for this journey that I've had. And a lot of people ask how in the world I ended up being a lighting designer and a programmer. And it's kind of an interesting story, so sit back and take a nap or whatever you want to do. No, but I actually started out at a very young age as a country music singer. I know, yeehaw.
We're going to ask her to sing a little later on.
Oh, boy. But anyway, I still do that. I call myself Hannah Montana midlife crisis at this point in my life because I still do both. But I actually went to Full Sail quite a few years ago in 1989. How many of you were not even born then? Oh, boy. So back then, we had running water and electricity. And we didn't have these things. We had this thing that you go into your house and you plug into the wall called a telephone. And we actually did this on it. Hello? Hello? How are you? We actually spoke on it. But anyway, I went to Full Sail in '89. It was very small at the time. Actually, it was on Douglas Avenue. They were just starting to move into the...
Bennett Road or over here?
Over here in the glass building. The main building. They were just starting to move in. I remember when you were on Bennett Road, actually. But I actually went to school for recording arts, believe it or not. And because back then, when I was a singer, I was always the chick singer carrying around the PA systems from my bands. And I had a little Tascam 4-track recorder at my house with these things called a cassette tape that you put in it. And I would write my little songs and record. So I always wanted to understand how it worked. And I've always had kind of a technical mind. I'm very creative being a musician, but my dad literally built rockets in the Army. So I've had this technical geek mind as well. So I wanted to learn how it worked so I would know better, you know, what to do for sound from myself and from my band. And also when I'm in the studio recording, I could better understand what the engineers are asking me to do. So I decided to go to Full Sail out of high school. And my mom especially was very, very supportive of that, you know. It was a non-traditional college, non-traditional career path, but she saw that it was something that I loved to do and had an interest in. So I went to Full Sail for a year and got the recording arts program done, learned how to do MIDI sequencing and programming, and back then they actually had this thing called a synclavier. I don't know if you guys have been introduced to a photo of that.
I think the synclavier has been retired.
Yeah. It was basically a computer that took up a room. I mean, it was definitely a large computer. Nowadays, GarageBand on your iPad does twice as much as the synclavier did, but back then that was the big digital recording stuff. I was fascinated with this, and I got out of school, still was a singer, singing around town. Got a job at Disney. I was an intern, and as a tech. So my day job, I was, you know, running sound and lights and props and staging and changing costumes for people, just as a park tech. And at nighttime, I was singing in my bands. So fast forward to the mid-'90s, I moved to Nashville to be a big country music star. Of course, that's where you're going to go to be a star, right? And I got a job as a spotlight operator at a theme park called Opryland. And I've always just had a drive to want to continue to learn. And the summer that I was working there, we had a group called Alabama, who was a country act back then that was pretty big at the time, performing there that summer. And the Whole Hog lighting console had just come out. I don't know if you guys, any of you lighting people have heard of the Hog, but this was, you've heard of it. Lighting? You do lighting? Sort of, kind of? Ish? Anyway, the original Hog. I mean, it was like there's not many of them produced. It was the actual first one. And that technology at the time was so new that nobody really knew how to do this, including myself. So I was fascinated with this concert rig and all this lighting, and wow, it was kind of neat. And I, just to rewind a little bit, I'd already gotten kind of mesmerized by lighting. Actually, here in Orlando at Pleasure Island, when it was open, there was a nightclub called Mannequins at one time that had a huge Verilight rig and all the lights. And I would actually go out to the club, not to go out clubbing, but to watch the light show and become friends with the techs in the booth. And I would just sit there all night long and watch the lights. Had no idea that was going to be my career at all. So I go to Opryland a couple years later, and I'm just still fascinated with the lighting. I thought, wow, this is fun. So I start playing on this console, and the LD for Alabama, Mike Swinford, who's a very notorious LD in Nashville, he saw this potential. I was 24 years old. He saw this potential in me and said, hey, you're picking this up pretty quick. I want to show you how to do this. So every day he would show me something different. And the next day I'd come in and play and go, oh, wow, that's just fun. That's just cool, you know? Still had no idea it was going to become a job, you know? I was a singer. So the concert series was over. And this is how you get jobs sometimes, just by accident, being in the right place at the right time. The series was over, and not many people knew how to run this console at the time. So they came to me and said, hey, Susan, you know, you've been running this console for the summer. You want to run the rock and roll show in here this fall? I was like, okay, that sounds fun. Sure. So next summer comes around. They said, do you want to host the concert series here? I said, sure. I said, what does that mean? They said, well, the acts that come through that have LDs, you set this console up for them to run. And then the acts that don't have LDs, you get to run. I was like, oh, okay. That sounds like fun. So I start pushing my buttons, making my lights blink. Had no idea that I even had a talent for this. It was just fun at the time. So I started getting calls to go to these little nightclubs and program lighting, and I'd figure out these controllers and go, oh, okay. They heard we had IntelliBeams, which is a really old moving light. You remember IntelliBeams, right?
Oh, yeah.
So these nightclubs, since there's IntelliBeams, they're like, oh, you program IntelliBeams, can you come program them? I'm like,
Was it on the joystick controller?
yes,
or
it was on the little
joystick?
LCD joystick controller. So, and I went, started pushing buttons to figure it out, and I just always had this knack for just picking things up like that. So I'd figure it out and go, oh, this is kind of fun. So one of the LDs that came through that summer, I think he was with Martina McBride or something. I can't remember who he was with at the time. But he came through the concert series that summer and once again saw that potential in me. He saw that spark in my eye and that kind of, Susan, you should try doing this. I'm like, oh, I'm a singer. This is fun. No, seriously, I want to take you to meet some people. I want to take you to, they're in need of programmers, and you have a knack for programming, and you're really good at this. This is going to be something that can turn into something for you. Little did I know. I said, okay. So he started introducing me to all these people around town. He came up to me one day and said, hey, Susan, Louise Mandrell is looking for an LD for her tour. This is in 1995. I had no idea even how to draw a lighting plot. And I told him, I've always been very honest. I never, ever sell myself for something that I can't do or that I haven't done. I'm willing to learn, but I'm not going to tell somebody, oh, yeah, I can do that, and not know how to do it. I said, well, I don't really have any experience doing this. He goes, it's okay. Just go down there and talk to him and just see just go down and talk to him. I said, okay. So I walked in, and I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't do a lot of lighting. I do lighting at Opryland. And I don't know what I'm doing. I've never toured. And they said, well, we need somebody. You want to give it a shot? Okay. So off I went for a year touring with her. And we weren't carrying lighting or anything back then. So it was like I would advance the show and hope to get something close to it when I got there. And yes, you know what I'm talking about. You can advance a plot all you want, and sometimes you get it, and sometimes you get a rig of the day and go make it work. And that's exactly what I did, and that's how I learned, because every day was a different console, every day was a different rig. I finally learned how to draw my first lighting plot and start realizing I was making it look really cool, thinking, wow, I'm really starting to enjoy doing this. This is fun. And so I spent a year with her on the road and learned a lot. I mean, I was really thinking, I can get used to doing this. I'm really, really, really enjoying this. But at the time in my life, I was still pursuing the music career. And I went to audition for a country singer named Lee Greenwood, who if you watch any of the sporting events, like the God Bless USA was his biggest hit, but he was an 80s and 90s kind of act. He hired me to come sing in a show and be a backup singer. And of course, at that point in my life, I was like, wow, that'll look good on a resume to actually get to go sing with a real country music star. That's going to help launch my career, you know? So I left Louise and got hired by Lee. Lee called Louise the next day and said, I hope you don't mind, but I'm taking a couple of your people. I just want to let you know. And one of them's Susan Rose. And I've always kept both careers very separate. I mean, I joke that I'm Hannah Montana midlife crisis, but it's the truth. I've always been two people. I'm a Gemini, and at least both my personalities are aware of each other, but, you know. But anyway, she said, I thought you had an LD. And he said, no, I'm actually hiring her as a singer. So she looked at me the next day and said, how come you never told me you were a singer? I said, you never asked, you know. So off I went with Lee. And in the meantime, I was still interested in lighting. I still enjoyed it. And they had the whole hog too at that theater at the time with Lee. And I would still, you know, work with the LD and program on the board and still play. I still enjoyed doing it. And when that ended, I got a call from Louise's people again saying, hey, you know, can you come out and do some road shows with us? We want to talk to you. I said, okay. Now, I didn't realize that, you know, I guess they had just gone through a couple people, nothing bad. It was just they had moved into a theater at that time in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And I just moved back here. I'm actually from here originally. I just moved back to Florida, and she's like, I know you just moved, but can you come back to work for me? I got this theater in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and, you know, I want to say I wasn't sure at first. She goes, as women's lib as I am, I wasn't sure about hiring a female LD. I've never had a female LD before. She goes, but you're one of the best LDs I'd ever had. And she's like, I'd really like to have you back. So back to Tennessee I went for what I thought was going to be a year. And now 99, 10, 11, 12, 13 years later.
I was going to say, almost as long as I've known you, you've been back and forth between Tennessee and Orlando.
Yeah. I stayed with her, and the theater, she stayed in that theater till 2005. But in the interim of working with her, I started really developing my freelance career because I had programmed her show that somebody else could run it, and I would go freelance and do stuff outside of the theater because I loved the show, but I was just bored being in the same show every day. So I started getting hired to go be a programmer for a lot of other LDs on like a lot of television shows and different things. Or whatever, they're just hiring me because they needed a good moving light programmer, and that's what I pretty much specialized in and still do. So Louise was very supportive of that, and when she sold the theater in 2005, my career had already started to launch. My first Ringo tour, I don't know if you guys know, but I toured with Ringo Starr, and this is actually my...
Let's back up a second if you're going to go into the Ringo Starr story and
okay.
tell us about Ringo Starr.
Well, you guys are familiar with the band The Beatles, right? Right? Okay. Oh, I have one of those. Look at you. I need to get a picture with you with that. Ringo fan here?
I'm the biggest Ringo fan.
That is, oh, you have the shirt on too. Were you at that show?
I went to the Atlanta show.
You were in Atlanta at the Fox? Mm-hmm. That was last summer?
Yeah, last summer.
Wow. Cool. Did you like it?
Oh, yeah, it was the best show ever.
It is a fun show. It is an amazing show. It can't get bored because it's not just Ringo. It's like the All Stars. And by the way, if any of my Ringo people are watching me in Australia, peace and love. Hey. But it's an amazing show to work with. I've been with him for 10 years now, and I can't believe it's been 10 years. 2003 actually was the first tour, and I'll tell you that story in a minute. And you guys that are watching in Australia can turn that part off. But actually, just to digress a little bit, I'm actually on tour with him right now. We are actually over in Australia, and I'm not there, obviously. But we did New Zealand, Australia, and Japan. I got in from last night from Sydney, Australia. Got off the plane last night, went straight into events last night, and yes, I'm still awake. I'm not sure how. I don't even know what day or time it is right now. But I actually fly back to Australia Saturday, and we're in Australia next week, and then we go to Japan, and then I'm done. Then I move on to my next projects. But anyway, yeah, he's great to work with. He's wonderful. It's just a fun show because the band is made up of old rockers from like the 70s and 80s and 90s, and they've all had amazing hits and are legends themselves. And it is just, the show goes so quick. It's just, for me, we're a big family out there. I don't know, it's not a normal tour. We call it Camp Ringo, or I call it Camp Ringo, because people see all my pictures on Facebook. Not that I ever post anything hourly. But I have fun when I tour, honestly. I'm the biggest tourist in the world, and I'm the first one to be out of the hotel room and on the double-decker buses with the headphones and the map playing tourist. But the show is great. It's just, it goes by so fast because Ringo, comes out, and then every guy sings a hit, and I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. But that was the first big tour I've ever done. In 2003, once again, just by association, I had met somebody who's a dear friend of me to this day, Pete Billson. He was a tech for Clay Packey at the time. And I was fixing lights. I mean, it is so important to know every inch of how things work. I mean, signal flow and DMX and troubleshooting and everything, because it's essential to making a good designer, knowing how light works, But when I was working at Louise Mandrell Theater, I was not only the LD and the programmer, I was also the tech, and learning how to fix my moving lights, because I never wanted the rig to be broken, so I had no other choice but to learn how to fix stuff. I didn't want to have to send it off and be without it. So he actually came down to train me to learn how to fix these lights, because they broke pretty much every day. And they were nice lights, but they broke a lot. But anyway, once again, established that relationship, that friendship, networking. It's very important in this business. But when Morpheus Lighting was looking for an LD for Ringo, Pete recommended me. So they called me to do the tour, and I was like, okay, that sounds like fun. It's only for 2 months, and it's the longest I'd ever been away from Louise, but I'll see what she thinks about this, And that was the first year I actually did a first tour with him. And so anyway, when she sold the theater in 2005, at that point in my life, I was like, I'm going to try this freelance thing full-time for a while. What do I got to lose? If it doesn't work out, I can always get a job in a theater again, or a theme park, or whatever, but I want to try the freelance thing. Well, wow, that was the best decision I ever made. I mean, it is just non-stop. I mean, I love it. It's not for everybody, because some people want to know that they're working Monday through Friday, a certain time, they have this day off and this day off, and sleep in their own bed every night. But I'm a very non-traditional person. I love the challenge of something different every day, and different shows every day, and different challenges I face every day, good and bad. I think it's a Gemini part of me. I just enjoy, I get bored easily. I have ADD, I think, so my attention span's about this big. And I love to travel. I mean, I love to travel more than anything ever in the entire world. And but anyway, so the freelance career just took off. So I was still programming for other designers, which I still do. Like even with Ringo, Jeff Rabbits is actually the designer for Ringo. He's been with Ringo and Bruce Springsteen for many, many years. And we just have such a good working relationship. And I program for him on a lot of stuff. And I still program for a lot of designers. However, I also develop my own design eye, and which makes me even more valuable now, because a lot of times designers will hire a programmer. Well, now clients can hire me as the designer and the programmer, and I'm kind of two people in one now. So I like to program my own shows. I do actually I'm starting to get into some shows now where I actually do have some programmers on. Louise's theater is now called the Smoky Mountain Opry, and they actually filmed part of my induction video there. It's an amazing show. It's just over the top on steroids, a lot of LEDs, a lot of media server stuff, just a lot of stuff. And that was my first experience actually not programming. And it was weird, but at the same time, it was neat, because I had Marshall on my left doing all the media server stuff, and Alex on my right programming the Martin Maxis M1. And I was able to actually look forward rather than doing this. And it was kind of neat, because I was like, okay, take these lights, put them there, blah, 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 blah. I want this, and this is color. Marshall, I need you to match this. I want something like this, swirly. I did the whole director thing. I want something swirly. I feel this.
Designer speak.
I did. I was speaking designer tongue. I was like, I want something bouncy. I feel something bouncy. Purple. Thank you. But it was fun. So I'm still involved in that show. But I didn't realize I had this talent for programming and designing, and I think a lot of it had to do with just my background in music. Because being a musician, I always tell people, like, when I do lighting, I make people see the music. And lighting is so important in a show. You guys have all been to concerts, and it's like, it would be totally different without lighting. You know, lighting is there to enhance, not to distract from what's going on. Unless there's a lack of talent on stage, then you do want the video walls and the bling bling and everything to distract. But what I'm saying, though, for me, it was just, you know, I'm still performing, but just from the other side. And I'm painting a picture, basically, on stage. And the kind of lighting I do is in your face. Wow, look at me, look at me. It's very big, very lots of beams. I blind people in the audience all the time, but it looks cool. But things just evolved. And all of a sudden, I found myself being a lighting designer and a programmer. Wow, and the singing career kind of flip-flopped. And the lighting career actually now funds my music career. I still do the music, but I do it now for the passion of it, not because I have to for my income. I produce 2 of my own CDs now because of the lighting career. And when I do shows, singing-wise, yes, I am my own LD.
Everyone else is afraid to do it for her.
They're terrified. Actually, Full Sail has been helping me with a music video that I'm doing for a song that's going to be released this summer. And you're there. That was fun, wasn't it? But what was funny, actually, was John Buck. Do any of you guys know John Buck at all? Okay. He was actually a student here. What year was he in your class? About a decade? Okay.
2001?
He was one of the students that I am very, very proud of. He was just like you all. He was in a class I was lecturing at with Susan, and he took that initiative to get out and make it happen, not just expect it to be given to him.
They took their spring break trip and went up to see Susan in Tennessee.
That impressed me so much because on spring break, rather than just going and partying and hanging out, he and a friend of his, I can't remember who it was, actually came to Tennessee. Because I always tell people, feel free to email me, contact me if you need any help, blah, blah, blah. And he did. I said, come on up. He went over to Nashville. He went over to Bandit Lights and some lighting companies. And then he came over to Pigeon Forge, and I got him into the show and took him around the theater. And I watched him over the years continue to just go out there and get it. And now he's like, well, I think he's a Blue Man Group now, but...
He's a Blue Man, and he still does wrestling.
Yeah, he was in WWE and became this huge media server guy. Well, the reason I'm telling this story is because when we did the music video, part of the video is showcasing both of my lives, my music and my lighting. So I was actually in there programming the Grand MA in my lighting for the video, of course. Well, I asked John if he would help me. I said, would you come in and program the hippo and all the media server stuff and then run the cues for the lighting? And he said he would, I mean, he was just like, I would love to. And we were sitting there joking. He's like, wow, Susan, this is my biggest dream and my biggest fear all in one day is being your LD. I was like, well, get it right and don't miss a cue or I'll kill you.
Well, when your CD first came out and you did that first video, and everybody on Facebook was like, I'm not lighting her, I'm not lighting her, I'm not lighting her.
I know. I wouldn't do that to anybody I actually liked, I don't think. Or somebody that would just say, Susan, hush. But no, it was actually a fun day. We had a good time. That was a fun shoot, and I didn't kill him. It was great. He did good. So if you're watching, John, you did great. But let's see, John.
That's Pigeon Forge. You were
Pigeon Forge.
Television. Tell us about your television shows.
Oh, okay. Well, with television, I started getting into that, doing music award shows. And since I live in Tennessee, I do a lot of stuff in Nashville and Atlanta. So I do a lot of the more Christian-based the award shows, like the Dove Awards. I do the Stellar Awards, which is like the gospel. Oh, I love that show. This is the 8th year I've done that one. I just did that one last month. The Trumpet Awards. I mean, just multiple television shows, but I'm always the moving light programmer and operator on that. And that's where I learned a lot about lighting, actually, from Mark Carver, who is a TV LD I work with all the time, how to light for television. Not studio lighting, but as far as the bling-bling stuff that you guys see on American Idol and all the shows. And that's where all these big looks come from, is that background, because you want to light for the camera, so you're constantly shooting stuff in the audience to get those long angles and those cool big looks. But I love them, so I actually use those in my stage shows and concerts as well. But it looks cool, you know. But the TV lighting is a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing TV. It's a lot of long days and nights of programming, anything I'm doing, whether it's a TV show or an install in a theater or a theme park or a ship. People don't realize lights don't magically just happen. And I think me being a performer has also helped me as a LD, because I'm a good liaison between the technical side and the entertainers, because I've been on both sides. And I understand how it works. And because a lot of entertainers, they're not there all night long like we are. And they show up the next day and the sound and lights are there. So they just see me pushing a button going, oh, you're just pushing a button. It's like, yeah, we were here for 17 hours last night, so I could push that button. You know, the speakers didn't just hang themselves, you know. But a lot of people just don't understand that. And even when I'm working with casts, with dancers and performers, a lot of them are amazing. They do understand, and I try to always speak to them in their language too, and I think they respect that because I'm a performer as well. Like when I'm telling them, guys, I need you guys to stand in the spot, I need to light you, and I'm always very clear with them why I'm doing it, and so they're always very patient and very understanding. They're not, you know, whining too much most of the time. Sometimes it depends. But it's really helped me having experience on both sides, just because like I said, I can speak both languages, so to speak. Or if a performer or an artist doesn't like something, I'll understand why. Even when I'm using, this is notorious in the lighting field, when you're using hazers and fog machines, people have it in their head that it's going to kill them sometimes. And so what I'll do, if I ever use a new hazer or a new fog machine, I'll actually personally go up to it myself and breathe it, just to see how it makes me feel. That way I can say, you guys are imagining it, or maybe I should get something different. Most of the stuff nowadays is all water-based anyway. It's not going to hurt you, especially stuff they use on Broadway. But still, a lot of artists will have it in their head if they see it. Here's a little tip for you guys that are LDs out there. If they don't see the source, you're okay. The minute they see that hazer sitting there, I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying. Your haze is killing me, Susan. Yeah, okay, whatever. So I kind of try to find places to hide it and not get it too heavy on stage. But with the kind of lighting I do, I've got to have it, because it is all about the beams, and you got to have the beams, the particles for the light to bounce off of to get those cool looks, you know. But anyway, but like I said, the career just continued to grow and grow and grow, and a lot of repeat clients, a lot of people that know somebody. Literally, it's been because I had that drive and that initiative to want to learn, and I'm still learning. And you know what? I still get nervous. I still get nervous before shows, especially a new show. I'm still nervous. Actually, I put something on the other day. I forget what I was going to do. Was it? I don't remember, actually.
I don't know, but it was something you were like,
yeah, and
jitters or the nerves. Or...
Yeah, and I still get nervous, but that's okay, because the last thing you want to do is start getting overconfident. That's when you start screwing up and making mistakes, you know. But, which we all do. I'm the first one to say, oops, sorry, didn't mean to black the stage out on you. But yeah, I still get nervous, but I always had that drive to want to learn. And I still do. I still like to learn from other people. I like to watch other shows. I went to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra this past December at the Amway Center. And wow. I was like, when I grow up, I want to do a big girl show like that. I mean, it was just... For me, it was so stimulating watching it and just getting ideas. And I love watching other shows just to get ideas sometimes and go, ooh, that's cool. But then again, half the stuff I come up with isn't something I actually sat down and planned out either. A lot of times it's like a painter. You just start painting sometimes and you come up with things by accident a lot, you know? A lot of my stuff is by accident, but don't tell anybody, even though I just announced it to the world. But
talent, not accident, it's talent.
But, no, but seriously, that's literally how my career happened. I used to call lighting my accidental career, but honestly, I think that's what I was meant to do. It's amazing how one path can lead to something else. You know, because of being a singer, that led me to my lighting career. And because of my lighting career, it's kind of led me full circle, kind of oddly enough, back to my music again, because it still allows me to do it, just from a different perspective now. But I've met so many people along the way, so many amazing people along the way, that have believed in me and supported me and encouraged me and never let me give up, you know. And I've gotten to do all the things I dreamed about doing, being a superstar country singer, but from the other side. You know, I've gotten to tour and travel and just see the world. And to this day, I still appreciate that. I mean, I was in Sydney, Australia 2 days ago. I had 6 hours there. We got in at 4. I got to the hotel at 4. I dropped my bags off and said, peace out, guys. I'll see you. In a taxi cab I went with my camera. Did a speed tour around town. He dropped me off at this restaurant district, and I said, here we go. And I found a ferry. I took a boat ride down the river over to the Opera House because my bucket list, check mark, I wanted to see the Opera House. So off I went by myself to the Opera House, to the bridge, did everything. Went to the Hard Rock Cafe because I collect the little guitar pins. I mean, I saw everything I could possibly see in those 6 hours, but that's how I am. Anywhere I go, if I have a couple hours off, I do not sit in my hotel room. I try local foods, I don't want chain restaurants. You know, I want to try something that's local, you know. Even in LA, we were in LA before we went over to New Zealand. And I've been to LA 1,000 times, but every time's a new experience. So they all tease me because here Susan was riding down Hollywood Boulevard in one of the little cut-off vans going to tour the homes of the stars. Hey, click, click, click. And we actually went by Ringo's house, which was funny. They're like, this is the gates. All you really see of the Star Tours home, the tours, are the gates of houses and lots of shrubbery. But hey, you know, I was like, click, click, waving at the security camera like, it is not Susan out here. No, it's not Susan.
Did you tell the boss you were stalking him then?
No, but I did tell one of our techs, and they were laughing, going, oh my God, you passed Ringo's house? I was like, yeah, I wasn't one of those vans, you know. But for any of you that are interested in touring out there, if you do tour, make the most of it. It's a very tiring life. I will tell you that. I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. I absolutely love what I do. I feel very blessed to have a career and a job that I can wake up every day and look forward to going to. But I will tell you, it is not what you think and not what you see on television. It's a lot of long days, a lot of flying, as you know what I've done this week. People don't see that part of sitting on planes for hours and hours and hours in different time zones constantly and not having a consistent sleep pattern. And, you know, as you start getting older, you know, when you reach 25 like I am now, you start feeling it a little bit more, you know. Lighting is the first thing off the truck in the morning, and guess what that means? We're the last ones back on at night. So after a long, average 14-hour day, at least, the last thing I want to do is stay up when I get done, you know, and, you know, so those are the days I do sleep. But if I have a day off, though, you know, if you guys are touring and you have a day off, get out of your hotel room and go see it. I mean, I'm paid to see the world, you know, and I actually have to put myself in check sometimes when I start complaining, going, God, I'm tired. I don't want to get on a bus. I don't want to get on a plane. Oh, I'm tired of staying in these hotels. I'm tired of eating out in these restaurants. And I think I travel more in a month than most people do in a lifetime. And it's like, you know, for most people, it's a luxury to go to a nice restaurant and to a nice hotel. And I see these people that have saved all this money to go to Sydney, Australia, or to go to wherever for their vacation. And I'm like, I'm being paid to be here. Wow. I'm going to make the most of it. And, you know, to this day, I still do. I don't care if I've been to somewhere before. I will make it a new experience that next time I go. But it's a rewarding career. It's a very hard career. I'm not talking negatively. It's just a lot of hard work, a lot of long days, a lot of long nights. But it's also very, very, very rewarding in the end. When you sit back and go, I did that. That's cool. Now I'm going to go see the Opera House. You know?
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Thank you for Susan being here today. And that is going to conclude our discussion of Susan Rose's Road to the Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Thank you.